Good morning and welcome back to the BullyBall podcast where we talk about the 49ers. Um, coming off a rough week against, um, I'm already blanking, against the
Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears in the monsoon. I try to wipe that from my memory. But we're looking ahead to the Seattle Seahawks. We have a special guest coming on in about 10 minutes to give us the breakdown, kind of like last week, everything you need to know about the Seattle Seahawks. So let's jump right in and let's go.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to cut the.
So, as usual, your two guest hosts, you got Alex and Joseph, and we're going to give you guys a little quick recap. We know you've been hearing about it all week. 49ers laid an egg out there, didn't look good in the monsoon. Well, actually, they did look good, but then they just, a couple plays go the opposite way, and the whole game turns on its head. What did you think about that game last week?
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I was feeling real good going into halftime. And then once we came out of halftime, they kind of started getting some momentum. I kind of felt it coming on that we were about to get upset because you could see it. The players were looking not energetic. They weren't having the juice. And the Bears were just hitting on all cylinders at that point. So unfortunate, you know. Penalties was a big factor of that loss. The team just looked really undisciplined to me. Being from, I think we had like over 100 yards of penalties, especially on third downs. The defense was folding on third downs with those stupid penalties given up. And then that's when the big plays would happen, was off of those penalties. So that was a big part. Also, getting the breaks in coverage to where the Bears had the chance to get those deep balls to Dante Pettis and Equanimous St. Brown. So those were undisciplined by the safeties and linebackers. So those were unfortunate. Overall, just the discipline of the team needs to rise. It just looked like a very undisciplined team. I know the weather was a factor, but you can't use that as an excuse for the whole thing because the other team is also playing in the bad weather. It's not like it's just the 49ers playing in the bad weather. It's the 49ers and the Bears playing in the bad weather. So you can't blame it all on the weather. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy how, you know, you can see the momentum swing, when one big play happens and then you go three and out and then you're like, hey, this whole game turned on its head. And people always say like, oh, there's no such thing as that. The momentum doesn't just change. You can see it on the field. Like you knew, damn, we're in trouble right now. Like this game is different. And the 49ers were ahead. They let the Chicago Bears charge back, and then the weather said, nope, you have no chance of coming back now. Started downpouring even worse in the fourth quarter. It's unfortunate, 49ers a much more talented team, but didn't play like it. The undisciplined, like you said. There was a couple flags that you could say, hey, that's on the refs, but there was some very, very bad ones that they're just mistakes you can't make. You stop a guy on 3rd and 4. Why are you grabbing a face mask? Like, there's no reason for that at all. Quarterback, you see him running out of bounds, pull up. He's going out of bounds. You're going to get a flag. It's just, unfortunate. And that goes to show the same thing was happening to this Seattle team that the 49ers play this week. Denver looked like the more talented team, and they were getting those undisciplined flags that were changing the game. So we could kind of see something similar happen if the 49ers don't turn it around and start playing, crisp, clean football.
Yeah. I thought the refs were being a little flag happy there. I thought there were some questionable calls, but definitely, like we said, the penalties were a big factor. in one of our earlier podcasts, we talked about some players that we thought were going to break out, some players that we thought were going to bust. And I think my bust player was Dre Greenlaw. And
I think it
boy, did
was.
it show in this week 1 because he looked rough. He was involved in that coverage with that touchdown to Equinemius St. Brown. He had multiple penalties. Remember last year, too, I think in the playoffs or at least late regular season, he had multiple penalties, too, on just stupid stuff. Like, that it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so it did not look good for Dre Greenlaw. And if he continues that type of play, you have a more than capable linebacker in Aziz Al-Shire that can take that spot easily, because I thought Aziz was definitely one of the better players last year for us. So it'll be interesting to see Dre Greenlaw, how he responds this week.
And yeah, I think my bully of the week prediction was Javon Kinlaw. And after the first 2 drives, you would have said, hey, this dude might be the bully of the week. But then he kind of fell off as the game went on. And I'm pretty sure yours was Talanoa Hufanga, wasn't it?
No, because mine was going to be Eric Armstead. But you remember then I went with Eli Mitchell to
Oh,
go
yeah,
as an
you
offensive
did.
player.
And
Eli Mitchell, though, he was looking good until he got hurt. And if you guys haven't caught up on other podcasts and news and around the league, Eli Mitchell is going to be out for 2 months with a torn MCL, I believe it is. So time for Jeff Wilson, Jordan Mason, and Ty Davis Price to step up. So we'll see how that goes because Jeff Wilson, it's so weird because Jeff Wilson looked good in the preseason, like decent. And then you get to the regular season, he just does not look explosive to me. Like he just doesn't look like explosive like he has the vision. It just doesn't look like it's there. Like I don't know. He looked the same as he did last year when he had a start for Eli Mitchell, and it wasn't impressive. That's why I didn't want him back this year. But we'll see because the running game is going to be a huge factor of this offense still.
Yeah, and it looks like Deebo Samuel is your best running back again on this team, which it's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing because you don't want him primarily playing running back. You want another threat back there so he could play wide receiver. But that brings up another thing that happened this week. 49ers signed Marlon Mack to the practice squad. Great 2019 season with the Colts. And then, a couple injuries derailed his career a little bit. Came back with the Houston Texans in the preseason this year and looked like he had some juice left in the legs. And he got cut at final cut downs. Now he's on the 49ers. What do you think about him?
Yeah, like you said, he was super good with the Colts. I remember him what year was it? 2019, 18?
2019.
19. Yeah, he was super good. He's still young, too, because I feel like he's been in the league for a long time. But he's only 26 years old. Still, like you said, still looks like he has that explosiveness in him. So it'll be interesting to see how he works his way up. Because I'm sure that we signed him to be on the active roster. Probably not this week, but in the next coming weeks, I would imagine. So I like it. Good signing.
Yeah. And we'll see. Kyle Shanahan said he's going to go with the hot hand at running back. So we'll see how that shakes out this week. Who's starting at running back? Our guest should be coming on here any minute. So before he does, who was your bully of the week from that game?
I mean, easy. I would assume everybody would be thinking the same thing. Safety, Talanoa Hufanga. He was playing at an insane level in the box, like making play after play after play, looking like an all-pro out there, like a little Troy Polamalu, since everybody likes to compare him to them just because the hair or whatever. But he was looking elite, making so many tackles for loss. He had the interception, had a pass deflection. It was questionable, though, because he probably did give up those 2 touchdowns that they had. because to Dante Pettis, he was the lone safety in the back, and he started floating to where Justin Fields was going, and that's what opened up Dante Pettis on the other side. And then the one to St. Brown, Eric Crocker broke it down and kind of said that he was in like a tight place, They throw it to the under guy, and if Talanoa Hufanga takes St. Brown and throw it to the crosser probably scores. If Hufanga takes the crosser, which he did more than likely, then St. Brown scores, and he did. So that one was kind of up in the air. But Hufanga definitely looked amazing, for the most part. Had a couple breaks. He's a young player. He's going to still have those up and downs, only his second year. But he looked great, and that's what the Niners need right now too.
Yeah, and one thing that was pretty unfortunate in this game is, the 49ers pass rush has been praised all off season, all last season, that, hey, that's the defensive line you don't want to play against in this season. And it was a letdown, 1 sack for Bosa, 1 sack for Ebukam. I think that was it in the game. They were getting pressure, but we've said for years now the 49ers struggle against these mobile quarterbacks that can escape the pocket, because the moment, they get around him, he escapes out, and those were when the big plays down the field were made, where if the D-line would have been able to get him down, he wouldn't have been able to find those guys, breaking off their routes. But that's something the 49ers have struggled with very bad in recent years. You hope they have a bounce back week this week. We'll talk about it once our guest comes on. They have a couple of things they might be able to exploit, but we'll see.
Yeah. What did you think about Trey Lance and how he played?
Trey Lance, I think Trey Lance played well within the offense, but at the same time, it's very interesting because when you're playing in Kyle Shanahan's offense, you play well in it, but then when a play breaks down or something, that's it. It's kind of over. Whereas you saw Justin Fields, he really couldn't play within the offense, but when the play broke down, he was able to be very special and make those huge chunk plays to get them back in the game. Whereas Trey Lance played well within the 49ers offense, but when the play broke down, it was kind of over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of
people.
Go ahead.
You didn't see those crazy off-schedule things that you see from the great QBs, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Fields this game.
Yeah. I thought he played pretty well. He made some nice passes. There was a lot of nice passes. There was a lot of bad passes. The fourth quarter, they said, was like monsoon conditions. So, what do you really expect from that? I thought I thought the offense would look a little bit more explosive. You know what I mean? I'm sure the weather and the wet field played a big factor into that, but I would like to see a little bit more explosion because it just looked real vanilla to me, like real basic, no big plays. So that was something. But at the same time, I don't think just looking at the two quarterbacks, right, and asking the question, did the Niners mess up taking Trey Lance over Justin Fields? I don't think Justin Fields played or showed anything that would make me think, damn, the Niners messed up taking Trey Lance over Fields, because honestly, I didn't think Fields looked that good. He had a couple plays where he had those broken coverages and he did make the play himself getting out of the pocket. But besides that, he didn't really show me like, oh, damn, Justin Fields is legit and Trey's struggling. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. This game kind of didn't tailor to what Trey Lance is good at. We've known Trey Lance struggles with the short game, the accuracy, short throws, quick, get the ball out right now. That's not what he's good at the moment. He's good at pushing the ball down the field, um, deep play action routes, things like that. Get him on the move a little bit, and then get him planted to throw. Um, and this game did not tailor to that just because of the rain and field conditions. But at the same time, you're not always going to have those perfect conditions to where this is how we need to play the offense for you. Um, so, he was able to push the ball deep a couple times. Hopefully, we're able to see that more when the conditions are better on the field. Might not be this week because it's supposed to rain, but it probably won't be as bad as it was in Chicago. But it's just one of those things, you hope that it's not Kyle Shanahan kind of bringing the offensive playbook down a step from what it should be, because that's what he kind of did with Jimmy. And the whole point of having Trey Lance is so that doesn't happen this year. And that's kind of what it seemed like happened in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, like you mentioned the weather for this game on Sunday. There's a 70% chance of rain Sunday in Santa Clara. So probably going to be another wet one. Doesn't seem like you said, it's going to be as significant as Chicago, but there will be some rain in there. So that'll be interesting to see how they answer. But like I said, you have to find ways to win these games. You know what I mean? The other team's also playing in the rain. They're also having to change their offense around it. You can't make that excuse all the time. If you're a legit team, you got to find a way to win these games no matter what, because they're just going to get harder and harder as the season goes. You have Broncos week 3. You're going to play the Chargers this year, the Chiefs this year, the Raiders this year, the Rams twice. You know what I mean? Like, you got to beat these teams. Not saying the Seahawks are a slouch or anything, but you got to win this game.
Agreed. You're already 0-1 in the NFC, and now you're playing in your division, so you can't be 0-2 in the NFC and 0-1 in the division to start the year. Tough games coming up too. You play the Broncos, who obviously lost to the Seahawks, but they're a very good team and probably beat the Seahawks 9 out of 10 times. Kind of like what you'd expect from the 49ers versus the Bears. Then you play the Rams, Panthers, Falcons, Chiefs, Rams again. So, there's no walks in the park anymore. So you gotta win the games, man. You just gotta win the games.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see how we bounce back. I really want to see the bounce back of Trey Lance and the team in general. The defense, I want to see the bounce back from the defense. Looking at the defensive line, getting more sacks. Should be a good game. I don't know if our guest is copying on with us, so it looks like Joseph and I might be breaking this down ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Yesterday he said he was gonna be ready at 11. I don't know if he might have been sleeping in. He probably lives on the West Coast, so it's probably like 8 a.m. So yeah, should we dive in? Should we pause? What do you think?
Yeah, we can just dive in. Just knock it out.
All right. So we have the San Francisco 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks in Santa Clara this week at 4:05 p.m. Like we said, I think they upped the rain prediction to 80% now, so pretty much almost guaranteed to have rain this week. Not sure if it's going to be light showers, but we know the field is going to drain a lot better than it did in Chicago. So, your injury report, George Kittle practiced yesterday, but he is questionable, and he was limited in practice, not a full participant. Daniel Brunskill still out, did not play at all this week. For Seattle, you have A. Burns, cornerback groin, questionable. Jay Coleman, cornerback calf, questionable. And Joey Blunt, free safety. I believe he's a rookie, hamstring, doubtful. And that's it for them. But you also had Elijah Mitchell, obviously, you spoke on earlier. He's going to be out for a couple months probably. And then you had Jamal Adams, tear his quad. So he's out for the full season for the Seattle Seahawks. Do you think any of those impact this game in any way at all?
I mean, obviously, the Eli Mitchell and Jamal Adams injuries are going to impact the game because the Niners need to run the football. Eli Mitchell is clearly the best back that the Niners had, and he's hurt. So it's going to be I'm curious to see how the offense is going to look running the ball. And then Jamal Adams, I think it's crucial that George Kittle plays this game because if you can have Kittle on a backup safety, even if it was Kittle on Jamal Adams, I'm still taking Kittle 9 out of 10 times. But now you have him on a backup safety, so that's even a bigger mismatch. So I think it's crucial that Kittle gets in this week because he is a game changer. He's one of the best tight ends in the league, if not the best when he's healthy. So those two names for me stick out.
I honestly think that the George Kittle playing or not playing might be the swing in this game of who wins or loses. Because as we saw in the Seattle and Broncos game, Seattle may not have many big names on that defense, but they were getting tons of pressure on Russell Wilson in that game, whether it be because they were blitzing, finding, the open holes in the O-line, but George Kittle is key player in this game. And then obviously Elijah Mitchell. We know the 49ers, pretty much their whole offense runs through the run offense. And, it's crazy how fast the running game goes from looking like a strong group to a weak group just because you lose one person. And like I said, you want Debo out there at wide receiver. You don't want him at running back as much as he was this past week. And I think that's going to play a key part in this game.
Yeah, I agree. It's crazy because you go into the offseason, go into the regular season before final cuts, and you're like, dang, the Niners have one of the deepest running back rooms in the league. And now looking at it, you're down to what, 4 guys? So it thins out quick. And that's why the 49ers always carry a bunch of backs because this usually happens like every year. The good thing was that the Broncos were able to march down into the Seahawks territory every possession that they had the ball. So every possession, they were able to get into the Seahawks 50-yard line or more going to the red zone.
Like 3-yard line.
Every possession that they had the ball. And then the Broncos fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line twice. So I don't know if that's like the Seahawks defense forcing those fumbles or if it was the Broncos players messing up on themselves. But that's encouraging for the 49ers offense because hopefully we can keep up that momentum and kind of move that ball a little bit more than we did in the Bears game. What are your thoughts on their defense?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, their defense had its moments last week. They looked like they were able to generate pressure throughout the game. But Russell Wilson was picking them apart down the field. Kind of off schedule, though. So I want to see, Trey Lance step up, step out of the pocket, move around, let his receivers work open. But I think there are going to be plenty of opportunities. We saw Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy get deep on these defensive backs. And I think the 49ers can exploit that the same way. Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Debo Samuel. I think they can beat these DBs, pretty easily. It'll be interesting to see, though, because the 49ers, when they play Seattle, they usually like to attack them across the middle on short routes. And like I said, that's not Trey Lance's strength. So it'll be interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan kind of adjusts what he's usually used to doing to Trey Lance this week. Do you think that could happen?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope so. You know what I mean? I hope they can do that, but we'll see if it actually happens. One player to look out for on the Seahawks side is Puna Ford. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's still with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
He's a nose tackle. Dude always has huge plays every time the 49ers play him. Every time the Niners play him, this dude, Puna Ford, little short, stocky guy, makes plays. So expect him to make a play or two tomorrow, because I'm sure he will. And then another thing I wanted to talk about, I was going to ask our guests, was they have two rookie tackles playing on both sides starting. Abraham Lucas and I think Cross. I think Cross is the other guy's name. Texas A&M maybe.
Let me see. I'll look it up.
But anyways, while he's looking that up, I was a huge fan of Abraham Lucas going into the draft. And I wanted the Niners to take him. And supposedly he's been holding up pretty well in that first game. They said that he was looking better than the Cross, who was like a first or second round pick. And Abraham Lucas, I think, was like a fourth rounder. So
yeah, Charles Cross. I believe he was from
Texas
Mississippi
A&M, right?
State or Texas A&M.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
No, he's from Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State.
Yeah. But obviously the Broncos have Bradley Chubb, but Bradley Chubb isn't a Nick Bosa. So hopefully Bosa can actually get more than a sack or get some type of pressure, at least from the rest of the D-line too. Because we were saying the same thing last week. You know, the Bears offensive line, they have two rookies, unexperienced O-line, and then the defensive line didn't really show up. You know, they're getting pressures, but they weren't getting the sacks. They weren't containing the quarterback. So hopefully this week the Niners can actually take advantage of that. And if they can, I think that's going to be a huge swing in the Niners' favor.
Yeah, I agree. And in that game, the rookie tackles held up the first half of the game. But then in the second half, Bradley Chubb started eating them alive. So, you know, the 49ers D-line usually is kind of the opposite. They do good the first half, and then they tailor off a little in the second half. But hopefully they can put a full game together this week.
Yeah, I agree. Supposedly Geno Smith, when people start, he doesn't really have like a pocket awareness. So if you kind of get behind him or he's not seeing you, you can create some turnovers. So hopefully the 49ers defense can get around that. And then I'm curious to see DK Metcalf and Lockett against Mooney Ward and Emmanuel Mosley, because those two corners weren't really tested last week. You know, they have Darnell Mooney, and that's about it. This time you're playing actually some proven receivers. Emmanuel Mosley and DK Metcalf have had great battles in the past. I would probably say Metcalf would get the advantage most of the time out of those battles, but they're still good battles. So I'm really curious to see that, especially Mooney Ward. I want to see him get tested against some better receivers. And Emmanuel Mosley too, because I think he's one of the more underrated corners in the league. So those will be fun matchups, something I'm looking at for sure. What are your thoughts about it?
I agree. You know, the Broncos DBs are really good too, so they didn't really throw to the receivers at all in that game. So it'll be good to see what we can do against, you know, high quality receivers while they don't have a great quarterback, before we go on and play these great quarterbacks with great receivers. So that'll be good to see. But the Seattle Seahawks do have a lot of depth at tight end. I believe they had 2 tight ends score touchdowns last week, and 3 of them catch passes. It was Noah Fant,
Will Disley.
Will Disley, and then they had one other guy, Colby Parkinson. All of them caught passes in that game. And, the 49ers have probably what we would think is the best group of coverage linebackers in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to take away those options for Geno Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, theoretically, you would think yes that they should, but we'll see how it plays out in the game. Another thing I'm looking at is the run game because Rashad Penny, one of the best running backs in college football history, and then he had it took him a while to get going, dealing with injuries and stuff. Towards the end of last year, he ended up playing really well. And then this year, I think he had 60 yards in the first game against a pretty good Broncos defense too. So I'm curious to see how he does, as well as Kenneth Walker is going to be playing in this game, the rookie out of Michigan State, who a lot of people had as their best running back in the draft. So I'm curious to see how those two running backs play. Hopefully the Niners defense can shut them down because the Niners defense did really good against the run last week. David Montgomery really had nowhere to go. Khalil Herbert got a little bit more. I know he had a touchdown, but still there wasn't much running room for him. So hopefully the 49ers defense can lock that up as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see those running backs. Pretty underrated when you look at them compared to other NFL rosters. I agree with those. Jumping over to the other side of the ball, I'm interested to see the 49ers offensive line again this week. And we'll probably say this every week because, watching the game live, it looked like it was the new guys that were getting harassed in the game, the interior O linemen. But then after the game, when everybody starts dropping their recaps, analyzing the game, it was actually the San Francisco 49ers tackles that were getting beat the whole game. I believe Trent Williams gave up 3 pressures and McGlinchey gave up 2. With Spencer Burford giving up 0, and then your interior guys giving up 1 or 2 each. But kind of surprising. What do you think about that? And do you think they will bounce back this week?
Yeah, it's definitely surprising. One of the Bears rookie DNs said that Trent Williams has a tell, and it was like that he kicks his left foot twice or something for a pass, and that he took advantage of that, and that guy got a sack off Trent Williams. So it'll be interesting if other teams start picking up on that. Obviously Trent Williams, in my opinion, is the best player in the NFL. So I think that he'll easily correct that, and he'll have a great bounce back game because he's one of the best tackles ever and in the NFL presently. So I think he'll fix that. I think you'll be able to see him be his old reliable self. McGlinchey, on the other hand, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not too crazy about McGlinchey, but hopefully he can just stand his ground. Do the Seahawks have anybody notable pass rusher wise? I know they have Uchenna Nwosu, who's pretty legit. I think he got NFC Defensive Player of the Week last week.
Yeah, so they have Uchenna Nwosu, who was the Defensive Player of the Week, and then they have a couple of veterans. Nobody like really notable, but then they have rookie that a lot of people were high on, Boye Mafe, from Minnesota, I believe it was, out of the draft. Don't think he did much this past week, but where the Seattle Seahawks seemed to excel just from watching the game live last week was with stunts and blitzing the linebackers. They were able to confuse the Broncos O-line and create gaps to rush through. So, with the 49ers having a pretty unexperienced O-line together, it'll be interesting to see if they get exploited in those matchups.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a Niner fan, that's the last thing you want to hear because, like Joseph said, your three guys on the interior, two of them are rookies. The other guy's been like a practice squad player for his whole career, pretty much. There's not a lot of chemistry within the five of them, so that's not what you want to hear. Hopefully, they can pick it up, though. I mean, we've seen in the preseason, I know it's preseason, but we've seen Banks and Brendel pick up stunts and stuff. So hopefully we can see that again going into this game because this is a big game. Good news for the Niners was that the Rams lost, the Cardinals lost, obviously the Seahawks won, but you're pretty much starting out 0-0 again in week number 2. These division games are what matter the most. You got to win these games, especially the home ones. Got to win these games. So this game is really important. What is your thought? I saw a report that said if we lose this game, which I think is ridiculous, but if we lose this game, Jimmy G is going to start week 3. And then I saw somebody say, who was it? It was a former player for the Niners, I believe. Or no. It was one of the radio talk guys in the Bay Area. He said, that's a borderline fireable offense if you start Jimmy G after 2 weeks of trade. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
So if you remember back to last year, I believe the 49ers were 3-5 before there was even a chance for Trey Lance to come in and take over. So
and getting blown out by a Colt McCoy-led Cardinals team.
Yeah, so we're gonna hear this all season, and everybody knew, and everybody said, "Hey, Trey Lance needs reps. If he doesn't get reps, he's not gonna get better. Live game reps. If the 49ers keep losing, the season's a wash. Get the kid the reps he needs, and hopefully he's good to go by next season." I saw some earlier today, and it said Brett Favre went 13-3 the year prior to Aaron Rodgers taking over, and then Aaron Rodgers, I believe, won 6 games the next season. And the post said that was the best decision the Green Bay Packers ever made, because obviously then they go on, Aaron Rodgers becomes great, and he ends up leading them to a Super Bowl. So, no matter what happens, the only way Trey Lance should leave the field, well, I'm not even going to say it, but you know what I'm saying is, if there's an injury, but knock on wood, no injury, whatever. And, it's been a rough week. Obviously, everybody saw the Trey Lance making it rain video.
Strip club Trey.
Yeah. If you haven't, just look on Twitter. And, people be dropping these things right at the perfect time, after a bad week. Oh, get back on Jimmy's side. We got porn star Jimmy and lap dance Lance. It's fine. The kid's young, let him live his life. But like I said, Trey Lance should not leave the field this season unless the 2 worst circumstances possible happen.
I don't even think it's that big of a deal with Trey Lance. He's a young kid. He's still only 22 years old. And put yourself in, let's move the situation to as if it was us. Because people are going to be like, oh, you should be studying. You should be this. You should be that. Why doesn't he focus on the game? Okay, let's say that's your job. Do you expect yourself to be, studying your job or getting ready for your job the next day, 24/7? No. you need time to just go do what you want to do. So you can't be like, he needs to be studying. I'm sure he's studying, but he's not going to study 24/7. He has a life still. It's the same situation if it was you with your job. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be studying all the time where you don't do anything. And he's still a young
And
kid who's making a lot of money. So,
we don't even know when that video's from. That video
yeah.
could be from the week he got drafted. We don't know. So, you know, blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Live your
I
best
support.
life.
Yeah. Lap dance.
Um,
What did you call him? Lap dance, Lance.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I support it.
They said he's pro ready. He's good from under center. That's
Yeah,
why he
he's
was
taking snaps
practicing
from under
reps.
center. Yeah,
but,
exactly.
but I saw something else this morning, and it's a good point. Um, Kyle Shanahan is 2-8 versus Pete Carroll. The 49ers are 17-30 against the Seahawks. So, that just goes to show it doesn't matter if Pete Carroll has the worst team in the NFL or the best team in the NFL. That team still always comes out and plays their ass off against the 49ers. So, you know, I wanted to ask our guest, like, how does Pete Carroll always have this team so ready to go no matter what talent's on the field? Um, but obviously, I'm not getting to ask that. So that's just something to be aware of. The 49ers could lose this game, and I wouldn't be shocked. But I hope that Kyle Shanahan has this team ready to play this week and they pull off the win.
Yeah, you gotta stay disciplined, man, because if you're not, you're gonna lose. You have to stay disciplined, and it's not. I don't feel like it's very common that we see an undisciplined Shanahan team. You know what I mean? I feel like we're always pretty good. Um, so I think if we stay disciplined, I think we can pull out the dub. What is your score prediction for this weekend?
This weekend, I am going with 17-14 49ers. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, very close. Um, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it flipped. I think it's going to be 17-14, some team wins. Whichever team limits the mistakes better than the other.
Yeah. I'm going to say 24-17 49ers. I think we'll get the offense moving a little bit more. Um, yeah. Who's a candidate for Bully of the Week for you this week as well?
My candidate for Bully of the Week, I will release my candidate for Bully of the Week tomorrow on our live stream an hour before the game. So tune into that tomorrow if you want to hear who my Bully of the Week is.
All right. So I'll give mine then. I'm going to say my Bully of the Week is going to be Sam. I was going to say Sam Womack, but I'm going to go with Emmanuel Mosley. I think he's going to put the clamps on DK Metcalf and, get real physical with them because they're always physical, those two, especially with Jimmy Ward, even though Jimmy Ward's not going to be there. But I think Emmanuel Mosley is going to be the Bully of the Week, coming out with a couple pass deflections and an interception.
Nice.
So
I like
Emmanuel
it.
Mosley, my Bully of the
I like
Week.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard-fought game. These battles are always physical with the 49ers and the Seahawks. So, expect some hard-fought, grinded out yards from both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like Joseph said, tune in tomorrow. We'll be going live an hour before the game. So come in there. We want to really talk with the fans. We want to talk with y'all, get y'all's opinions, even if you're not a Niners or Seahawks fan. Still, just like to talk ball in general. So tune in for that. Should be fun. Should be a fun week 2 of the NFL. Update your fantasy rosters if you're still watching. But yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, we're sorry our guest didn't make it on with us today. You know, we're trying to have a guest every week. So next week we'll try to have Broncos person come on, you know, hopefully Saturday, maybe earlier in the week, live 1 hour before every game. And I think we're at 109 subs right now. Still growing pretty fast. Thanks for subbing and tuning in. We're trying to hit, what do we say, 150? Was it by mid-season?
Yep.
Yep. So thanks for tuning in. Um, you know, we appreciate you. If you guys attend any of the games and watch our channel, send us video clips, you know, for our short videos, and we will shout you out on those videos. And that's
Yep.
all I got. You got anything
Yep.
else?
Nope. Stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. Hop on the live stream tomorrow. Should be fun. See y'all
All right.
tomorrow.
See you.
Send it back.